Hey nerds, and welcome to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Theories and Conspiracies. I'm Brian from Good Nerd Bad Nerd. So we had our mid-season finale, we had Ghost Rider, we had the culmination with Eli Morrow, we had a lot going on in this episode, but there's really kind of four big things that happened that need to be talked about. But overall, I've been so happy with the Ghost Rider stuff. A lot of people were concerned that it was just being shoehorned in to kind of get magic on people's minds for Doctor Strange, but I think this was solid, and I think it stands up on its own. But again, I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. So first, let's talk about the number one thing to address this episode is Eli Morrow. So after last week, we didn't know exactly what Eli's powers were. Was it possible he was creating matter out of nothing, as he believed he was? He thought he was turning into a god, and that he could manifest matter out of nothing. Well, this didn't sit right with Fitz. He hated it. It just bugged him to death. And we learned that he actually wasn't manifesting matter out of nothing. He was drawing matter and energy from another dimension, this kind of layered dimension that Coulson and Fitz and Robbie were being dragged down into in the previous episode. Now, I've been calling this the Dark Dimension. This is the dimension that Kython, who is the creator of the Darkhold, that is the dimension he rules in. So it makes a lot of sense that that is the dimension he'd be pulling stuff from. Ultimately, it's hard to say what would have happened if Eli hadn't been defeated, if he would have created some sort of breach or portal accidentally that Kython could have come through. We don't know, especially considering that the kind of nuclear weapon was not a failsafe, but it was actually part of his plan. All that to say, his powers were he was definitely starting to be possessed. And the more he used his powers, the more possessed he was becoming. And all of that was very well done, I gotta say. Seeing him create things out of nothing, kind of the like creating water, kind of cool things like that were a nice touch. Now, while he was using his powers, there were those tremors that were being created, and seeing Quake use her abilities to try and absorb the earthquakes was really cool. It was a nice touch and a creative use of her powers that we haven't seen in a while. You know, she's been hurting herself, so she hasn't really been able to use her powers in the last few episodes. So this was a nice, creative way to get her back in the game and get her to use her powers again with those new gauntlets she has. All in all, loved that. Now, the final battle between Eli and Robbie, it's not so much a battle of like fight, like a physical fight, but more a battle of wills. And Robbie sacrifices himself in order to save essentially Los Angeles and possibly the world. It's hard to know what the stakes actually were since we're not entirely sure of what would happen, dimensional breaches and all that. But the sacrifice that Robbie is willing to take and make in order to stop Eli is very telling of his character, and was just a nice element. Now, they both presumably have been dragged down into the Dark Dimension. Is that the end of it? No, of course not. They're not going to get rid of an amazing character like Ghost Rider and Robbie Reyes after just such a short time. It'll be a while before we see him, but I guarantee you he will be back. The question is, what does he see there, and will Eli also be back? At the moment, I don't know. But it's something to speculate about. What do you guys think is going to happen while there, and when do you think we will see them again? But that, obviously isn't going to be addressed anytime soon. So we'll get to what we are going to be talking. We're getting to in the second half of the season. But before we get to that, the next thing is the team. The whole team was kind of awesome this episode. You really got to see them performing at the top of their game. Daisy, I've already talked about absorbing the earthquakes. Coulson even had their little conversation. They got back to their kind of father-daughter relationship that was really kind of important to them in kind of the first 2 seasons. But, he had even said that he wanted a different Inhuman to be in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. And Daisy jokes that only in the comics. Well, that did happen at one point in the comics. Of course, she was the leader of the Secret Warriors, but at one point she was also the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was an interim director. Now Maria Hill's back again as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it did happen. So it's a nice reference to that Although it would be great if it did happen. I mean, I do like what they're doing with director Mace, but you know, it would be nice to see Daisy take on that role in kind of that public figure. Now, we also had Fitz and Simmons kind of doing their stuff. Fitz is, you know, I love anytime Fitz is on screen and he's figuring it out and he's just going nuts with his science. We had Ada, who we're going to get to in a minute, so I'm not going to talk about her just yet. But the two big standouts, though, were Yo-Yo and director Mace. Yo-Yo got to do something that we've seen similar, especially if you're familiar with the X-Men films where Quicksilver was in it. Daisy's got to do her little thing where she, you know, is going through at super speed and she's adjusting things ever so slightly, manipulating the moment. And then you have that huge kind of release as soon as everyone essentially catches up to her. That was outstanding. It was very cool. And then director Mace finally gets to suit up in his Patriot costume, at least the MCU version of it. I don't know if he's calling himself Patriot, but he definitely gets a nice shield bit of battle armor. Not that he needs it because he is super strong, but it's still really cool to see him suit up versus kind of how his comic book character look. Now, that takes us to Ada, really kind of the last big thing for the show this week. She was outstanding, top notch. She's doing what she's supposed to do. She's protecting agents, she's saving lives. And then we get that teaser at the end where she's got Agent May trapped, a prisoner almost. It seems like she's a prisoner in that closet. And we can tell based on the way Agent May is dressed, she's been like that ever since she was touched by the ghosts. That's that same kind of, I don't know, gown or whatever, or robe that she was wearing. Robe, thank you. When she was kind of when she was messed up. But what does this mean? How long does Ada intend to keep her there? Why is she keeping her there? And I think that's what we are definitely going to find out in the second half of the season. Now, my speculation is that Ada is trying to fulfill her programming to the letter, and that is you protect people, you save agents' lives, and she has calculated that she needs to save Agent May's life and replace her with an LMD. So that's what she's done. She's replaced her in kind of an Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of way, and she's got the real May in a closet somewhere, and she's keeping her alive. She is protecting that agent's life. And this is going to cause problems. Will she go kind of the route of an Ultron? We don't know, but that's kind of the direction I think they are showing us that she's going to go. So what do you guys think? What do you hope to see in the second half of the season? And are you bummed there's not going to be Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the next few weeks? If you are, this was just announced recently, there will be a digital miniseries that you can see on ABC, their website or on the ABC app, featuring Yo-Yo Rodriguez. It'll be a 6-episode miniseries focusing on her. So if you need your S.H.I.E.L.D., they're doing this instead of a kind of the Agent Carter, which had been the previous 2 years. But this is going to be a nice way to get more detail on that character. Hopefully we'll see Mac, maybe some of the other characters in there, but definitely getting more of Yo-Yo is going to be a good thing. So until next time, guys, make sure to check out that miniseries, check out my other theories, and don't forget about my weekly show and everything I've got going up on the Facebook page. So until then, this has been Brian from Good Nerd, Bad Nerd, and this has been Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Theories and Conspiracies.